Dear friends, dear colleagues, my speech today is a great chance to advocate not only for quality and responsible journalism, but also for the imperative necessity of its sustainability. In what follows, I will use a short form of this idea. I will say QR journalism is not a new concept. It's just a way to simplify my speech today. Maybe in the world today are millions such speeches about journalism, but I don't care. I don't think they are enough. And beside that, I come here in front of you with my personal and professional experience that has two essential dimensions. First, just a moment, maybe, yeah. First, I was born and grew up as a teenager in a former communist country. So Romania had for almost 5 decades a totalitarian regime. No freedom of speech, no human rights, no independent journalism, but fear to say what you think, fear to criticize, fear to questioning any authority, no matter how abusive it was. After the fall of the communism, when I studied journalism in Romania, I became interested in the history of Romanian press, especially in its connection with the European media culture model. So I can tell you that Romanian journalism, Romanian media, is a part of European paradigm. However, Romanian journalism and Romanian media have their own specific challenges. Some of these challenges are related to social issues, economic issues, ideological influences, mentalities, education, so on. You know, there are some ghosts from our past that still haunt us, and there is a powerful neighbor that looks at Romania with greedy lust, not only at Ukraine, but at Romania too. In this, in this difficult context, geopolitical context, the work of Romanian journalists who investigate corruption, abuses, imposture, illegal activities is extremely relevant. Besides our own and specific challenges, we all face huge global risks today, such as the rise of far-right extremists, the economic crisis after pandemic, or disinformation. Disinformation is a huge global risk, a disruptive phenomenon we all face. But a little later about this. Some Romanian media project on these slides, some brave journalists from Romania, for instance. No. Let's get back to the main topic. What does QR journalism mean? What does it mean? You know, we use the terms media and journalism with the same meanings, but they are not synonyms. This is a great confusion. Media is a huge umbrella concept. On media, we see and hear a lot of different voices. such as social media influencers, politicians, journalists, citizens, ordinary people, PR specialists, a lot of different voices that speak loud in the same time. So I invite you to look at the QR journalist using a visual or conceptual metaphor. QR journalism is a little island, a little green and healthy island into a chaotic, dynamic, and unpredictable ocean. Media is that ocean. QR journalism is not media. QR journalism is a profession, is a vocational profession. You know? QR journalism is based on core values, standards, principles. In a word, is based on ethics. QR journalism separates fact and opinion, is balanced, it is evidence-based, it takes data into account and science into account, it provides fact-checked information, it puts that information into the context, it analyzes in depth some situation. And last but not least, QR journalism works for public interest. And I want to emphasize this idea. QR journalism is work for public interest, not for the interest of governments, not for the interest of corporations, not for the interest of ownership, but for the interest of the people, of the citizen. As a professor, journalist and communication professor, I strongly believe that this profession is undertaken and practiced only by extraordinary people. Why I'm saying that? Because these journalists sometimes give up their personal lives to do this job that never has a fixed agenda. Sometimes they are threatened, they are harassed, they are imprisoned, they are tortured, and even killed. So I personally have a boundless consideration for this profession and for those journalists who seek the truth, the factual truth, and try to do this job for all of us and for a better world. Why? Yes, I don't want to be, I don't know, use too much your attention, but I put on this slide some images about how many ways to do quality and responsible journalism today are. Not only news journalism. Everyone thinks in his or her mind that there is just news journalism, but there is investigative journalism, which is priceless. We have environmental journalism, data journalism, community journalism, constructive and solution-oriented journalism. A lot of ways to practice this profession with responsibility. The next slide, please. Why QR journalism is more relevant now than ever? QR journalism is an essential marker for democracy in every country. There is no democracy without journalism. keep in your mind, please, this idea. At this point, I just to emphasize the idea that authoritarian leaders don't love journalists. Why? Because they hate both the people and the truth. When authoritarian leaders come to the power, when they grab the power, one of the first actions they do is to suppress independent journalism and all critical voices. Second reason, QR journalism is a valuable benchmark into a digital media ecosystem invaded by disinformation. Maybe you have seen the Global Risk Report on 2024, and maybe you know that disinformation as a disruptive phenomenon is put on the first position as a huge global risk for now and the very next years. In this condition, QR journalism works as a lighthouse or a benchmark, is that little green and healthy island, because we all need reliable sources to inform from. How can we contribute to a sustainable, quality and responsible journalism? A smart way would be to be more media educated. I think media education is one of the most important disciplines and relevant disciplines today nowadays. So you can teach your students and not only your students, your friends, your child, your children, to train daily the critical thinking, not to believe what they see or hear on social media, to achieve responsible digital behavior, not to share everything, just check, do what professional journalists do, check everything, cross-check, and don't react after your first impulse. Digital media and digital literacy are the most important competencies in every level, in every school. In Europe, they are studied from the first level of the education. Another way to contribute to the sustainability of QR journalism is to identify in your proximity those local newsroom or media outlet or freelance journalists who provide quality content and support them. How could you support them? Follow them, read their materials, criticize them when it's necessary, because this will improve their work, and donate if possible. And be aware of AI and ChatGPT. I know it flatters you, it tell you what you want to hear, but sometimes or often it fails. So you have to check all information, especially academic titles, because ChatGPT is very polite, but in the meantime, and assertive, but in the meantime, it fails. Now, at the end of my speech, I would be grateful if you would consider my poor words and my humble presentation as a tribute to those journalists who lost their lives, who sacrificed their lives. Among them is the young journalist Victoria Roszczyna, Ukrainian, who who died or who was killed in a Russian prison last year. She has my son's age, so please consider my speech as a tribute today. Thank you for your patience.